Once again, we have a lot to discuss from Titans rookie minicamp. I was there both days, as well as Elite 11, as a matter of fact. I spent all three days of my weekend at football practice in some form or fashion. But I do have some good insights and information to bring back for you. We'll talk about rookie minicamp. Of course, we'll hit on some of the Traylon Burks stuff because that was the biggest talking point to come out of this weekend. And then we will wrap things up with This Is a Free Site, the best thing that I saw on the internet in the last couple of days. Before we get off and rolling, though, on a Monday evening, I need you to share this show. If you're on Facebook, please share it in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. That's share now to public. I've just done it from my Facebook page myself. If you're on YouTube or on Twitch, please do us the courtesy of subscribing to the A to Z Sports channel, where you can get our live stream coverage 7 days a week and multiple times a day. And now that more of you guys are here, that you've shared the show, that you've invited your friends to come hang out with us, we can go ahead and get this thing off and rolling officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on a Monday night. I'm your host, Buck Rising, and I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by our friends at Two Rivers Ford. Two Rivers Ford, since 1983, has been providing exceptional award-winning customer service and quality American-made Ford vehicles. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. Of course, the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage, the official real estate agent of the Titans and the Preds, is Gary Ashton. Your dream address without the stress can be found at GaryAshton.com. So, rookie minicamp now in the books, OTAs officially underway, and some interesting news and notes to bring back for you guys. So, kind of looking over what I wrote down in the notes app on my phone, there were a couple of things that I wanted to highlight. One, I thought there was one rookie on offense and on defense who really had an exceptional performance. I did take a few notes on some of the undrafted guys, but mainly I was just there to watch the primary actors, to be honest with you, as guys make it into camp and start to, develop a little bit of a role, and you see what the coaching staff might have in mind for them as far as a plan is concerned. Then we can spend a little more time on the undrafteds. But for now, the draft picks matter most. And so that was what I dedicated my focus to on Friday and Saturday afternoon. Now, there was a lot of noise made about the Traylon Burks thing, and we'll touch on that briefly, but I'll be honest with you, I don't think it's much of a story, other than a couple of notable news items that I wanted to make sure that I get across. So we're going to bump that to second, because I think that's largely much ado about nothing. But I want to start first and foremost with your Two Rivers Ford take. Which Titans rookie this coming year do you believe has the most instant impact potential? So there's 9 draft picks, as you know. There is Traylon Burks, Roger McCreary, Nicholas Petit-Frere. You've got Malik Willis at the quarterback position, Hassan Haskins, the running back. You have Chance Campbell, Theo Jackson, and Chig Okonkwo, who is the rookie tight end. Of those 9 draft picks that I've just named, who do you believe? And Kyle Phillips, forgive me, I forgot Kyle Phillips, the wide receiver. Which Titans rookie do you believe will have the most instant impact potential this season? Now, I understand that you guys haven't seen a lot of these rookies, and that there is a lot that I'm going to be able to give to you over the course of the next hour or so. So if you're not comfortable answering the question, that's fine. I think, though, when you're talking about potential, that opens the door for everybody to be able to discuss a little more. For Brian McNeil, he feels that it's going to be Roger McCreary, the second-round corner out of Auburn. For Josh Bowman on Facebook Live, he agrees. Derek R. says it's Kyle Kupp. The amount of Cooper Kupp and Kyle Phillips comparisons that started this weekend are completely obnoxious. Shame on all of you who did that to me on Friday after practice. It's completely unnecessary. And also, we played this game on the radio show today, for those of you who listen to the radio show, because Lucas, my producer on the radio station, brought this up. And I said, well, okay, how big In fact, let's play this game with producer Reed. Let's see if I can catch producer Reed off guard the way that I did with Lucas on the radio show today. Reed, emerge from the shadows and let's play this game with Kyle Cup or Cooper Phillips, whatever people are bringing up today. So,
Yes.
Are you prepared for the
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not, he says. Okay. How tall do you believe Kyle Phillips, the Titans rookie wide receiver, to be?
Ooh. I'm going to say 5'10".
He is 5'11", so you are
Okay.
close. How tall do you believe Cooper Kupp to be?
6'1".
That's garbage. You've seen these numbers before.
I actually haven't, but I do remember after hearing Cooper Kupp go off into detail after scoring that touchdown, I immediately went up and looked all of his stats. So, yes, I did look up that number.
So he's 6'2", according to the LA Rams media guide. All right, Reed, back to the shadows. Thank you very much for ruining the game. Bravo by you. But I think most people look at Cooper Kupp and don't realize how damn big he is. Like, he's 6'2". He's a full-size NFL wide receiver, and Kyle Phillips is much more, the mold that you associate with these tiny white slot guys. That's not what Cooper Kupp is. Cooper Kupp is a legitimate threat both inside the formation and outside the formation. It's not something that people, I think people realize. They just kind of project what they believe Cooper Kupp to be. Now, Kyle Phillips is not that, but he may have some interesting potential. So when I ask you guys who your rookie with the most instant impact potential is, I'll tell you who mine is here in just a second, right after I tell you about the people who make the Two Rivers Ford take possible. That is, of course, Two Rivers Ford. Two Rivers Ford can be found in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. At Two Rivers Ford, not only can you custom order your new Ford, your next Ford, but you can check out their massive selection of certified pre-owned vehicles. One of the state's largest selections, in fact, can be found at Two Rivers Ford. And if you decide that one of their certified pre-owned vehicles isn't exactly what you like, you can build your next Ford at Two Rivers Ford with the Built For You program that allows you to select any new Ford, any color, any customizable accessories. Get that car built for you and delivered right to your door. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. So, who is the rookie who has the most instant impact potential? Tim Park says most upside. No, Tim, that's not the question that I asked you. I asked you the most instant impact potential. And it's not obviously Willis. I don't think you know that at all. You have no idea what the upside of Nicholas Petit-Frere at the tackle position is. You have no idea what the upside is for Treylon Burks, even though he is clearly coming in with a first-round draft pick pedigree. He may still be able to exceed those expectations. He says, I just tuned in. Take it easy on me. Okay, I'm sorry, Tim. I'll back it down a little bit. Tim heard me starting to ramp up, and that's completely fair. I'm glad he caught me before I lost my shit, because that's something that I have a tendency to do, and I'm glad that you backed me off, Tim. Thank you for doing so. But for the players out on the field, I want to look at two in particular. The first one that I want to look at is Kyle Phillips, the wide receiver in the 5th round out of UCLA, who I believe has the potential to be able to start in the slot right away for this team. He was the best player on the field this weekend. He was the most comfortable with what he was being asked to do. He looked to be very natural out there, which is not easy to do when you're just meeting all of your new teammates and all of your new coaches, and you're just getting to the facility. And he probably just got to Nashville on Wednesday or Thursday, but before they took the field on Friday. There's a lot of this stuff that can fluster a young player. Just as, you coming out of college, or, maybe you didn't go to college and you got a job out of high school, or however it is that you got to employment, your first job was tough, right? Well, this is Kyle Phillips. This is all of the rookies' first job right out of school or right out of secondary education. And it can be overwhelming sometimes. Kyle Phillips looked the most unbothered on the field and off the field. He really was impressive with the nuances that he was already able to run the routes. He seemed to really pick up on the wide receiver drills that he was being asked to do. And it's not that Treylon Burks, for example, wasn't doing that. It's just it was a little bit of a different sample size. And as we'll talk about with Treylon Burks, he didn't go through the full day one. And I'll tell you how much of an issue I think that is later on in the show. If I thought it was important, I would have led with it. But looking at Kyle Phillips at this point, I think that he has a lot of things that the Titans offense needs that they tried to pay for initially with Adam Humphries when they were formulating this offense. And you saw what a good connection that Humphries and Ryan Tannehill had right out of the gate. Kyle Phillips is, still undersized. He still needs to put on a considerable, well, not a considerable amount of weight, but he could do with, an NFL nutrition and weight training program, basically, to make sure that he doesn't spontaneously combust upon contact as, somebody like Adam Humphries does, because that's a very difficult position to play. And certainly it can be very violent, even though the offense has had the rules changed in their favor. It is still difficult to play wide receiver in the NFL at this point. I think that Kyle Phillips has the most instant impact potential. And I think that another player on defense really caught my eye as well. Bryce Erickson brings up Treylon got asthma, and that Tennessee heat is no joke. Okay, I don't know that he has asthma. I'll be honest, Bryce, unless you have some reporting that I haven't seen yet, you don't know that he has asthma. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that verified anywhere. I know that was something that people were putting out there because he did have an inhaler at practice, Treylon Burks, when he didn't finish the practice. And the issue of the heat, unless this was something that bothered him during his career at Arkansas, where it is as hot, if not hotter, during this time of year, then the heat is not something that I'm looking at as something that would be new to Treylon Burks. Again, the asthma, whether it's real or just something that people have started saying because there was an inhaler present, I think that could be for any number of things. It could be for allergies. It could be that he was just simply short of breath. I don't know what that was. We didn't get answers from Mike Vrabel on that. But let's not assign something that that you think is so without knowing that is actually so. I think that's reckless. Especially regarding a player who potentially could have a medical condition or just had a bad day. Like I don't know what that was, but let's not make assumptions, right? Let's not jump to conclusions just because you think you saw something or you think you heard something. Josh says you don't know that, Buck. Every state is different. Allergies is a huge thing here. Sure, Josh, I am somebody who is still dealing with allergies. I popped a Claritin this morning before I went to work. I'm not saying one thing or another. I'm saying that you do not know it to be quantifiably so don't stand. It may end up being allergies. We didn't get the chance to talk to him this weekend because he was not made available to us. All I will say to you is that it is something to keep in mind that people have thrown out. I've seen asthma, I've seen allergies, I've seen heat exhaustion, I've seen poor conditioning. Those are four very different things. Some of them may be more related or more correlated to one than the other, but that's four possibilities for one situation. And I don't want people recklessly speculating out here is all I'm trying to say. So let's just be judicious about what you lob out there onto the internet like a damn grenade. Okay, relax for a second. Or the Titan says maybe he was hungover. Sure. I mean, hell, I was hungover at practice on Saturday. I don't know that Treylon Burks was hungover, but I don't know that he had asthma either. So as far as I'm concerned, you're basically those two things. Those are as reckless, one as opposed to the other, because you have no idea what the situation is for Treylon Burks. Now we can talk about that here in just a second, but I wanted to, before we move on, I wanted to mention a defensive rookie that really caught my eye on Saturday in particular. Now I thought Roger McCreary had a good couple of days. He seemed pretty comfortable with what he was being asked, but I noticed Theo Jackson more on the field than, maybe I went in expecting to, or just didn't necessarily have expectations for him. Either way, Theo Jackson made the only interception on a quarterback that was thrown on Friday or Saturday over the course of the 2 days of rookie minicamp. And it came in a pretty funny circumstance because it came while Mike Vrabel, his head coach, was shit-talking him.
It's been great, just come out here and, finally play football, so I'm learning to be a pro, learning the scheme and all that. So I think it's going to go well for me right now.
Theo, what was the comment right before the pick, Theo? There was a comment about Rocky Top out there, and you got to pick in the next play.
Yeah, so my guy KG was at corner. He was just trying to, get everybody in, high spirits. And then Coach Bear was like, cheerleader from Rocky Top. And I was like, okay, cool. So, and then I picked off the quarterback the next play. So, it kind of didn't talk after that. So, it was kind of funny.
So that's Theo Jackson nervously laughing. So he says his guy KG, who's Kenneth George. Those of you who are Vols fans will remember Kenneth George as a corner. He did sign a contract after being a tryout player for the Titans. So good on him for earning an opportunity. Maybe they just felt like they had to give him a contract simply because Mike Vrabel was shit talking him, and then his teammate made a play on the very next play from scrimmage throughout the course of rookie minicamp. I think that Theo Jackson is going to be an interesting prospect, and we'll see how much he can contribute in a crowded defensive back unit with needs obviously on special teams. There's a lot there to like, though, I think, about the local product here from Overton High School. So now let's talk about the Traylon Burks situation, because that's the thing that most of you, it seems, want to talk about. And I want to ask you the question this way. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much should OTAs and rookie minicamp factor into a new player's evaluation? Let me know on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and we will discuss together right after I tell you about our friends at the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. GaryAshton.com is where you go for your dream address without the stress. The Ashton team will put you in a position to succeed. Gary Ashton is the official real estate agent of the Tennessee Titans and of the Nashville Predators, and will make sure that you win with the intel edge in this middle Tennessee real estate market. Whether you're buying or selling, the Ashton team are the people that you should trust. GaryAshton.com is where you go. The Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage at GaryAshton.com. So, how much, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you assign, how much do you factor in OTAs and rookie minicamp into a player's evaluation? Jamal on Facebook Live says 1. Brian McNeil says 3. Puka 2. Demetrius 5. 1.13 for Stephen King. Van Jeffrey and Corey Smith both going with 5s. They are fence sitting like a mother. 3 out of 10 is what Mike Peck gives this as far as the evaluation is concerned. And I think that's totally reasonable as fans, right? As people who are, just kind of keeping track of what's happening this time of year with your new players. I don't think it should bother you much one way or the other unless you hear like some really, really bad stuff, which is, of course, not the norm. I don't think that based on what little, you guys aren't even able to see it other than the videos that we put out from practice on a regular basis. I would say, anywhere between a 1 and a 3 is correct. Because you're not tasked with coaching the skills, and you're not tasked with watching the film of the drills that they do, and you're not interacting with the players and coaching them up in the meeting rooms on a regular basis. So yeah, for you, it should be somewhere between a 1 and a 3. I think that's completely reasonable. But for somebody like Mike Vrabel, who values this time of year very, very much, who has said this after the draft to us about what it is that goes into this part of the offseason, what he refers to as phase 2. Mike Vrabel and his staff, and John Robinson and his staff, it's an 11 out of 10, to be honest with you, if you're on that side of things. 1, because your livelihood depends on it. But 2, because if you're a coach, chances are good that you like teaching, that you like coaching, that you like putting the work in to develop young players into a better version of themselves. And that's something that Mike Vrabel has always prided himself on, and something that he brought up on Friday night of the NFL draft, day 2, after day 2 of the NFL draft, when he was asked a question about Dylan Radins and Nicholas Petit-Frere.
Does that selection have any bearing on Dylan Radins? I know he worked at left guard, he's worked at tackle. Does that have any bearing on where you guys project him?
No, I don't think we're going to go into projections. We're going to start next week with the guys that'll be here with a lot of individual work, because that's what the rules are, and I think it's great. I would advocate for as much phase 2 work as we could possibly get, because that's where, you improve. That's where you make strides. That's where you learn your craft and are able to play in a manner that hopefully is safe and keeps you healthy and helps the team win. So that's where we're going to start. And, if you're a guard or a tackle on the right side, you're going to be in a right-handed stance, and you're going to be making the same movements. You're going to be coming off the ball. And if you're on the left side, so right now for the next 3 weeks, we're going to be working skills, and we're not going to be working against each other. They're not going to be having to block anybody. So we'll go through that process, and, once we get closer to where we have to compete and block somebody, then we're going to try to find a lineup and then allow them to compete.
So working skills, I'm not sure what happened when we got the green screen effect, but producer Reed will endeavor to figure out what happened there. As far as Mike Vrabel is concerned, it's an 11 out of 10, right? Because he really relishes this time of year. He likes the ability to teach these guys. And I think that is what you should factor in when you consider, for example, Treylon Burks, because Treylon Burks, who did not finish his first day of practice, who could be best described as limited in his first day of practice, I didn't get bent out of shape about it, because he came back on the second day and looked largely fine. Like, maybe he's not necessarily in NFL shape on his first day of work. Okay, so what? He'll get there. And if he doesn't, then we can have a larger conversation about this. But if you're asking me to, make a big deal out of the fact that on day one, he got clearly, there was some component of overheating. There was clearly some kind of respiratory situation that required the inhaler. It may be allergies, asthma, heat exhaustion, not necessarily in the best conditioning. It could be some variation of all four of those things, right? Fine. Today, or rather after Friday, is not the time to hit the panic button. It is a little deal. It's notable. It's newsworthy because it happened. But beyond that, you can move on. And I think for the purposes of what you're seeing and what you're learning right now about the Tennessee Titans, for you should grade on a curve. For the Titans staff, the evaluation will be done differently. Chris Frazier says he's got to get it together. Sure, of course. Nobody's disputing that, Chris. Who's saying that he doesn't have to get it together? But if you're looking for him to get it together, maybe give him more than 1 day, right? Literally 1 day is how quickly that happened. Max Augsburg says, can't replace first impressions, Buck. Well, that's my thing. Like, it's not your first impression. It's our first impression. And I say that respectfully because you weren't out there. I was out there. Austin, I believe, was out there on Friday. Diana Rossini was out there on Friday. You can look at this and say you can't replace first impressions, and that's fine. But Friday was not your first impression of Treylon Burks. Friday was our first impression of Treylon Burks. The coaching staff has already had their first impression of Treylon Burks. What your first impression of Treylon Burks will likely be is either, if they have open training camp practices, which it sounds like may be a possibility, a preseason game. There will be 2 played at home and probably 1 opportunity out of those 2 preseason games to see Treylon Burks, provided that he stay healthy. And for the vast majority of you, it will be week 1. That will be your first impression. It is something that I think is being made far too much of. And I only acknowledge it because I think the conversation around it is largely being had by people who were not in attendance. And that's not like I'm not going after people or whatever about that. I'm just saying that, like, slow down. It's going to be okay. And if it isn't okay, then we can have a more serious conversation about this. But this, after 2 days of work at rookie minicamp, when basically the most important stuff that they're doing is finding out everywhere about their new facility, their new coaching staff, their new teammates, their freshman orientation, basically, as an NFL player. Friday and Saturday is not the time to make sweeping indictments. It's just an observation. It can be that and be something that you continue to monitor without freaking the hell out about. MB says, then why are the media going to report this and then jumping on anyone that has expectations? Are they reporting it just to get a rise out of Titans fans? Well, it depends, right? Like, okay, let's take A to Z Sports, for example. When I believe Austin put together a video on this situation with I think it was like a TikTok, whatever you call it, compilation, right? And I don't think it was more than 20 seconds on TikTok. I'd have to go look at the A to Z Sports TikTok page. But in the TikTok, it featured a clip of Treylon Burks, hands on his knees, doubled over. Do you know why that was included? Because one, it's noteworthy, but two, that visual is going to get a reaction out of Titans fans. While, and I'm not saying that Austin was right, wrong, or indifferent. Like, it is newsworthy. It is worth putting out there. At the same time, it can engage people in a way that clearly A to Z Sports seeks to engage people. I think that there's some gray lines, or there's some blurred lines between, what people expect from conventional reporting and things that are put out onto the internet with the clear intention of getting a reaction while also being reported on, right? So I'm not saying, I'm not crazy about reaction journalism. What I am looking for, though, is, why was he doubled over? What was the response? What caused that? What did they do after the fact? And I was there to see all of that. You were not. You got 20 seconds of a TikTok video that showed Treylon Burks doubled over at a football practice. And, that may mislead you. And I'm not saying that Austin is intentionally misleading you with a video like that, but it doesn't tell the full picture. So that's why it's my job to hop on here for, we're 27 minutes into the show, and it's my job to come on here to expand on what you've seen, right? To give you further context for the clip that you've seen. Now, maybe not everybody who saw that video is going to hear myself or Austin, who was there. And I know Austin's on vacation this week. Zach, who was not present at camp, but I'm sure had and read all the reporting on this and talked to Austin and whomever else about what happened and did his due diligence. There's a lot of different ways that you can look at this, and break it down and make sure that people understand exactly what it is they're looking for. It's a newsworthy item, but it's being made the headline story, and that's an easy thing to do because it's the first round pick, the guy who was traded for A.J. Brown, the guy who they traded up to replace A.J. Brown, and also, it's a slow news cycle right now. That's why we're talking about stuff like this. Bryce Erickson says, are you ready for record predictions? No, I'm not ready for record predictions. I'm never ready for record predictions. They're the worst thing in the world. And, but, you guys can always ask me. I'd be happy to do that. Gino says, Burks is not out of shape. I know for a fact he was dehydrated when they didn't clear it up. Is ridiculous. Shame on Vrabel for not knowing. Again, Gino, I don't know that. I have no way to independently verify that information. So if you have a source, great for you. If not, it's just largely speculation. And Mike Vrabel's not going to tell us one way or the other. It's the same thing for injuries. That's how this thing goes. Let's see. Anthony, I don't know how to pronounce Anthony's last name, says, Buck, when are you going to admit that you're a low-key Titans fan? Well, if it happens, I guess I'll tell you. if that all of a sudden happens, then you guys would be the first ones to know, right? I feel like I'm always upfront and honest about you guys. You know what I'm a fan of? I'm a fan of getting paid money. I'm a fan of getting paid decent money to be able to talk about football and cover football, and to get to go to games and get to wear nice suits and get to interview cool people. Like I had Trent Dilfer on the radio show today. I got to hang out at Elite 11 practice at Lipscomb Academy on Sunday. I got to see, for those of you who are Vols fans in person, 5-star quarterback commit Nico Iamaleava, who I know a lot of Tennessee fans are excited about. All of those things, all the cool trips I get to take, all the like I said, all the cool people that I get to talk to and interview and hang out with and chop it up with on the sidelines of these kind of events. Yeah, all of that's great. I'm a big fan of that. And all of that comes as a result at its root of me covering the Titans. So yeah, I'm a fan of getting to do the job that I do. If at any point there starts to be some, blurred lines as we talk about, where all of a sudden I've gone full homer and you can no longer trust me to have an objective opinion about the sport and the team that I cover, then I'll disclose that to you. Because, I don't give a shit what you think one way or the other. I love you guys. I do. I love you to death. But like, your opinions of how it is that I do my job impact me zero as to how I do my job. Unless, I'm clearly in the wrong. And every time that happens, I'm always grateful for you guys to, either correct me when I've misspoken on something, or fact check me when we've, potentially, read the internet wrong or something like that. Like, you guys are a great resource for me that way. But I'm just going to do my job. And if they're going to keep paying me money, two different companies are going to continue to pay me money to talk about football and get it to do all these cool things. And yeah, I'm a big fan of that. Big fan of money, big fan of football. Love all of those things. Any footage from practice today, says Myron Harris? Yeah, we're not. So we had Friday and Saturday. I do have Friday and Saturday practice footage on my phone, but I did not put those. I did not send those to producer Reed for editing. They were in the building today. I don't know that they were on the practice field. All I know is that OTAs are underway and will be underway this week, but that we will not be able to physically attend them. The media won't until a week from tomorrow. So they're keeping us out of the building this week while they start to get their stuff back together. Brandon Smith says, I saw you in the end zone between the tunnels before the Arizona game last year. Well, that's cool. I always love seeing you guys at games, and like at the hockey games because I get to go to those as a fan, or like I'm a Nashville SC ticket holder. I've got seats in the 200 level. I think I don't know which end of the pitch. I don't know the proper terminology for the soccer stadium yet. Forgive me. Either way, I'm always happy to see you guys when I'm out and about, and I love when you all come up and say hi and chop it up, and always happy to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, just the same way that we do here. Buck, are you going to do a live for WWE SummerSlam? I know the radio station's giving away. Tickets to that. I've never been to a WWE event. And speaking of cool people that I get to hang out with and be friends with, Jeff Jarrett was on the radio show. It's a couple weeks ago. I think it was before the golf tournament. And we were Jeff Jarrett, obviously professional wrestler, Nashville's on. I believe he's Henderson. I believe he's Hendersonville originally. But either way, not to get bogged down in the details. I told Jeff that I've never been, I don't know anything about wrestling. It's not that I'm for it or against it. I don't know any better one way or the other. And so I would love to attend. These events look like a lot of fun. I mean, Pat McAfee looked like he had a hell of a time performing in one. And I had no idea how big the crowds for stuff like that get. So, if by extension, because of the nature of my job, that I get to go and I get to have some kind of special access, and, most importantly, if they give me a parking pass, because that's the only way that I'm going anywhere these days. Now that I'm spoiled from getting parking and getting free food and not having to wait in lines for things, like, I'll be honest with you, I'm not going back. You're never going to get me to go back. And if such time as I no longer work in sports and that's the way that I have to consume sports, I'll never go to another game again. I swear to God, I won't. I'll never do it. Never again, because it seems like a terrible existence to go back to. I don't envy any of you at all when you attend sporting events or concerts that way. It seems like a tough existence. But I would love to do something for WWE SummerSlam. I will see what kind of opportunities await us that way. All right, let's do. This is a free site. Buck from the top rope says Monsoon Monahan. I'd pay to see that. Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun. Mike Vrabel versus Pat McAfee. Make it happen. I mean, Mike would kick everybody's ass out there. Carl Crossland says Ric Flair is coming. I've never been to a wrestling event, but I have met Ric Flair. Funny story. I was in Tampa last year for Titans. What was that? Joint practices with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. and I had gone out with some friends who also work in the NFL, gone out with some friends for dinner and drinks the first night that we were in Tampa Bay. There was a great hotel that had a restaurant on the riverfront because I don't know what I assume it's the Tampa River. I don't know the name of the river that runs through Tampa, downtown Tampa, but it's right on the canal, right? This hotel and this hotel bar and restaurant. So we're having great seafood, have a couple glasses of wine. And I look up at I'm watching the television because it's on Sports Center and we're down there for Titans and Bucks training camp. Training camp joint practices. So Ryan Tannehill's on the television screen. And then, I'm watching it a little bit. I can't hear it because we're at the bar and I don't really care that much. And I start to, my eyes start to drift down from the televisions on, above the bar down to the bar. And I'm just kind of people watching a little bit. And, there's a lot of interesting characters at the bar, but there's an older gentleman with silver slicked back hair sitting by himself with a bottle of wine, a single glass, and I think he had a cigar. And I'm looking at this man and I say, he looks awfully familiar, but I can't place him. Like that is because I know who Ric Flair is, but like Ric Flair, for whatever reason, wouldn't immediately pop into my mind. And I'm watching him because I can't figure out. It's probably very creepy of me. Thank God he had his back turned me so he couldn't see me because I'm just staring at the back of this man's head. Then all of a sudden he gets up, turns around to walk to the bathroom. And I'm like, holy shit, that's Ric Flair. And I'm now at this point staring directly at him. He's just kind of looking at everybody else who is staring at him and, go waving hi at people. And somebody said, hey, Rick. And he gave a little woo, just as he walked by to go to the bathroom, just having a lovely wine night. So I don't ask people for like pictures or stuff like that. I think that, I think some people, I think it's in poor taste to bother people when they're out like at dinner or, just clearly enjoying some alone time or, namaste. That was also the same weekend though, that video, that picture came out on TMZ of a person who looked like Ric Flair performing sexual acts on a woman on, I believe, a train. I don't remember whether or not that was who that ended up being. I know it was not Ric Flair because I had the alibi for Ric Flair. I was staring at him at a bar in Tampa Bay when that story came out on TMZ. It was just somebody who happened to very, very much look like Ric Flair. But, I'm sure Ric Flair has had his fair share of fun back in the day. Anyway, let's move on and do this as a free site before I keep rambling anymore. This is a free site, the best thing that I saw on the internet this weekend. The question is this: what one NFL personality do you hope never changes? Let me know in the comment section on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Twitch. We will discuss it at length together right after I tell you. Well, I don't have to tell you about anybody right now. We can do it right now. What one NFL personality do you hope never changes? Let me know in the comment section, and we will discuss at length. There's going to be a couple of different nominees for this. For example, there was we played for you a Jim Irsay video last week. There was another Jim Irsay video this week. It was tremendous. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what he's wearing. I don't know if he's sitting on the toilet as he's singing to us in full gravelly throat, but it is incredible. I don't know why it took me this long in my life to be a Jim Irsay fan. If you're going to accuse me of being a fan of anything, I would say that I'm a massive fan of Jim Irsay. I think that he is an incredible human being. Some of his behavior in past and probably present is deeply problematic, but also it produces hilarious videos on the internet, and I am in full support of all of those things. But one NFL personality do you hope never changes? For Matt, he says a group of people. He says the Chargers social media team. Agreed. They've got a great sense of humor. Dre Wilson says Marshawn Lynch. Charles Davis for Tremel. I love Charles. Charles does the radio show every once in a while. He's an incredibly genuine person. He's one of the most polished broadcast professionals you'll ever find in your life. Dre Wilson says player or owner. I think it can be whomever. Dre can be player, it can be owner, it can be coach, it can be general manager, whomever you like. Feed the world, Skittles. So Oakland, says Stephen King. He's riding with Marshawn Lynch. Bryce Erickson says Mike Vrabel is my favorite personality. I hope he doesn't change. Yeah, Mike's a real peach. B French says Taylor Lewan also. Well, Mike Vrabel is not a pain in my ass. Mike Vrabel is very enjoyable to work around, even though he likes to, light our ass on fire every once in a while in a press conference. But Taylor Lewan and his outsized personality are, in fact, a giant pain in my ass. Taylor is probably in my professional life, Taylor is probably the biggest pain in my ass. But he keeps it interesting for sure. Brandon Smith says, as Titans fans for our 22 years, for our 22-year own Mike Keith. I'm not sure what that comment means. Titans fan, our 22-year own Mike Keith. I assume that the personality is Mike Keith. I'm not quite sure what the message is as Titan. Now I'm trying to translate this as Titan fan. Does that mean 22 years of the Titans in Tennessee? That would make sense. Producer Reed is nodding vigorously, so I'll move the hell on and not get bogged down in this comment. Oh, Alex Moxon brings up another giant pain in my ass. Will Compton. Yes, indeed. I'm looking. I was on the phone with Will the other day. We're going to get together at some point now that he's back from New York. He's just had his child. Yeah, he seems to be really, really enjoying the dad life. Brandon Smith says Mike Keith has been with the Titans for 22 years. See, if you could have just said that the first time, Brandon, I wouldn't have had to, stopped cold and tried to digest it that way. Mark Jones says Mason Kinsey. Mark Jones can sit and spin. No, I think the personality who I'm riding with is Jameis Winston. QB1 forever. One of my favorite people of all time. One of my favorite quotes of all time, even though I don't understand what the hell he's saying half the time. Jameis Winston is the GOAT.
As a kid, my passion was always football, right? But being taken away from the game, I didn't realize that my passion was playing football.
I don't know what the hell that means, but I love it. I wish that Jameis Winston, I saw somebody make the comment that I hope that Jameis Winston narrates, the next National Geographic, African Sahara, or, deep sea ocean. What are they called? They're not biographies. They're not, I guess, is it documentary? I'm not sure what the proper term for those is, but just for Jameis to be the voiceover person for something, I would listen to Jameis Winston talk for hours. It is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. For Omar, it's Jim Wyatt. MB says his teammates don't understand him either. That's why he throws so many picks. He can throw all of the picks until the end of time. He's just the best. Jameis Winston is he's just a gem. He really is. And he will make me laugh every time I hear him speak or do a off-season workout video, because Jameis's off-season workout videos are always 10 out of 10. Trammell says, oh, I didn't know you was talking about players, but Winston a trip. Remember when he ate the W? Yes. The W's are there to be eaten. Always eating the W's, Jameis Winston. If I was better at my job, I would eat for you a W on camera, but I would never let you guys have that on me, because you would screen record it, you would screenshot it, it would live on the internet forever, because this is something that doesn't go away even after the live broadcast begins. So no, I will not eat a W for you. I will simply hold up the W to indicate that Jameis Winston has engorged himself off of W's throughout the course of his career. It's going to do it for us tonight. Radio show, a lot of fun tomorrow. Who do we have on the radio show? We got Corey Curtis of WKRN News 2 in studio. We got winners and losers of the sports weekend. And I believe, we got Ramon Foster, because we're going to talk about the fact that Antonio Brown wants to retire a Steeler. And I think that's laugh out loud funny. See you guys tomorrow night. Have a great one. We will do it either tomorrow on the radio show at 10 or tomorrow night at 8 or thereabouts on A to Z Sports Primetime.